Sorry I'm late, guys. I just got back from B-dubs with AJ, and this was the best time I could do this. Didn't have time to do the video this morning, so I decided I was going to do my Raw recap tonight before I have my dinner and listen to Wrestling News Live. So, we are bringing you Raw recap, of course, last night's WWE Raw, which of course we're on the road to WrestleMania. And we'll start with segment 1 here. Once again, we are at 411mania.com. And Punk comes out to start the show. Promo was really good overall, but basically he pretty much said that the video that showed Paul Heyman in collusion with The Shield, which meant Punk was in collusion with The Shield, was doctored. And Vince is not above doing something like this. And that's exactly what he did, and if Paul Heyman said it was a Paul Heyman impersonator that was in the video and not Heyman himself, then Punk takes it as the gospel. So pretty much it went, Punk was talking about how the video was wrong and he was being screwed by Vince McMahon and the whole company, and then Booker T came out. Booker T, God, flubbed his line so bad, talking about the WWE app, and I mentioned a couple Raw recaps ago how the word app is way overused on WWE television, about as much as the word team is. But luckily, one of the teams has been dropped, so, but I'll talk about that later tonight. Basically the gist of this was the fact that CM Punk was going to be facing one of his former WrestleMania opponents in the main event, and you had to download the WWE app in order to decide who it's going to be. Was it going to be Rey Mysterio? Was it going to be Randy Orton? Or was it going to be Chris Jericho? So that's pretty much how it ended from right that beginning, and we go to our first official match of the night, which was the person I absolutely dislike, and that's Ryback, who is not growing on me one iota, so hopefully they'll do something to get him to grow on me eventually. Even Goldberg eventually grew on me. Now, it's hard to admit that, but it's very true. And taking on one of my personal favorites, the United States champion himself, very European, Antonio Cesaro. Cesaro, amazing. The match was really good overall, and I'll tell you right now what it was. It's pretty much Ryback's version. I know Ryback's faced Punk, and he's had his matches like that, but basically I would call this Ryback's version of the match that Goldberg had with William Regal in WCW. It's pretty much a match. It wasn't designed to put down Ryback or expose him, but he actually got a whole lot of offense did Cesaro in this match. And it wasn't a normal squash like it usually would be. The match was really good, and it showcased Cesaro not wanting to get pinned. And basically, right after the meat hook clothesline, Cesaro powdered to the floor, and it looked like we're going to see another count-out loss for Cesaro. But this time, Ryback tossed him back in the ring and hit the meat hook one more time, hit the shell shock, and 1, 2, 3. And the match was actually pretty good overall. And I can't say that very much about Ryback matches because they're all about the same, except for the matches with Punk, because pretty much they're all elongated squashes. But for me, this worked, and Cesaro looked extremely strong in this match. And I'll tell you right now, Antonio Cesaro is one of the futures of WWE, whether they like it or not. It's going to happen. He can talk, he can work. He's exactly what the company's looking for. And he's going to be a main event heel somewhere down the road. Time's not here quite yet, but it's going to happen sooner rather than later. Our next match of the evening was between Santonio Marella against Jack Swagger. Yeah, Biff Swagger came out. He's looking more not like Jack Swagger. Jack Swagger has a look to him. And this was not what Jack Slater used to look like. This is Jack Slater, wow. Jack Swagger used to be All-American. I mean, a lot of people call him Kurt Angle Light. I mean, whatever you want to call him, honestly. This looked more like Jake Hager, developmental wrestler who just does not care anymore. And in some cases that's bad, but in this case it's amazing because he actually shows he cares a whole lot more this time around, because the match against Santino, just another squash, but still, he showcased his style, and he's using the Swagger Bomb now, and Cole actually called it the Swagger Bomb, which was really nice, and he's using the ankle lock still, and he tapped Santino out, and they're calling the ankle lock the Patriot Act, which fits really well. They dropped the All-American Steez, and now they're going with just the real American Jack Swagger, and it works really well, given the fact that he's not wearing one iota of U.S. colors on his gear, but that makes him a lot more devious, a lot more dangerous. And he got up in Booker T's face. He was on guest commentary during the match, and he basically said, "Do I have to show you any more? Are you impressed yet?" And I can see Jack Swagger working his way into the Elimination Chamber, the SmackDown #1 Contenders match. Of course, the winner of that is going to end up going to WrestleMania to face the World Heavyweight Champion, whether it's Alberto Del Rio or the Big Show or whomever it may be. Speaking of Alberto Del Rio, the current World Heavyweight Champion came out with a match against Mustachio himself, Cody Rhodes. Now, of course, on SmackDown Friday night, the Rhodes Scholars split up. They had an amicable split. They said they're going to remain friends, and they're just going to focus on their singles careers. And that works fine, except for the fact that you still have the tag team belts on Daniel Bryan and Kane. You don't have a tag team that can go after the titles. The Usos are a joke, no offense, but the fans would look at them as a joke. The Primetime Players are nothing but a comedy act, even though they're awesome together. And the fact they want to push Titus O'Neil by himself, so Darren Young may be future endeavored sooner rather than later. But still, when it comes down to it, you needed to get the belts off Hell No before you did anything with splitting the team up. But they want to go with Sandow and Rhodes as singles wrestlers, which I have no problems with whatsoever. But do something with the tag team belts or abolish them. Just get rid of them one way or another. Unless you want to give the Shield the tag belts, and I have no problem with Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose holding the gold, but you got to work their way to that. And right now, they're under collision course with John Cena, Sheamus, and Ryback, which will probably end up with a match at Elimination Chamber, if I had to guess. Now, the match with Del Rio against Cody Rhodes, really good, very much enjoyed. It wasn't a squash. It was actually a really competitive match. I very much enjoyed it, and I love Del Rio as a face, as I say over and over again, and I will continuously say this. Now, of course, Ricardo did not bring him to the ring this time. Justin Roberts did the ring introductions, because Ricardo, of course, is still hurt from his attack from the Big Show last week on Raw. We'll get to that later. So, after the match, pretty much Big Show got on the Titantron and said that he was at the hotel, and he says, "Don't bother looking for me, but if you find me, you're going to pay for it. And I want a rematch in Elimination Chamber, and I have a contract that I want you to bring one of your funkies over, and I'll sign it, and we will have this match in Elimination Chamber." So ADR, of course, accepts the challenge, and we'll get more from that tonight. Our next match of the night, tremendous match between Daniel Bryan and Rey Mysterio. Of course, this was after Mysterio and Randy Orton both lost the WWE app active poll of who would face CM Punk in the main event for tonight's show, and that ended up being Chris Jericho, which is exactly the reason I wanted to see face Punk, because Punk and Jericho, they could have a series of matches. I'd never get tired of them. But Bryan and Mysterio had a great match back and forth, and Bryan ends up hitting the no-lock and taps out Mysterio, and the match ends. After this match, Mark Henry makes his return. So the world's strongest man comes out, and Danielson runs out, and this was a smart move, and it was kind of funny. So Mark Henry comes out, and he looks angry as ever. He just frustrated as all get out, and I could totally understand. Of course, the last time we saw Mark Henry, he lost the World Heavyweight title to Daniel Bryan. So Bryan goes right after Mark Henry, and Henry grabs him by the head and throws him face first into the barricade. He actually hit the back of his head against the barricade, got in the ring, and dismantled Rey Mysterio. Now, Sin Cara, or wherever you want to call him in this case, it's obviously Unico under the mask, but I mean, Sin Cara, because Mystico's whatever he's doing right now. Sin Cara comes to the ring, tries to make the save, goes for the springboard, gets caught, world's strongest slam, so Sin Cara gets laid to waste, Mysterio gets laid to waste, and Mark Henry is now back, and back with a vengeance. And that's awesome, because Mark Henry is great, and a tremendous heel, and the company really needs that right now. ADR and Mark Henry would be a tremendous match to have down the road. I've also got matches I could see him having with Sheamus and Randy Orton. I mean, there's a lot of ways you could go with Mark Henry. Speaking of Sheamus, I'm not doing this on purpose, folks. I'm really not. He had a match against Kane, which actually wasn't terrible. And basically, we're looking to split up Hell No right now. That's what we're building towards. And Sheamus ends up getting the pin with a brogue kick. And it's not a problem. It was a decent match overall. We ended up going to Miz TV next with Paul Heyman. And I like The Miz, as everyone knows. And The Miz and Vicky had their back and forth. And all of a sudden, Miz said the wrong thing. And here comes Brock Lesnar. And Lesnar comes out. He looks at The Miz, pretty much lays him to waste, gives him the F5. And I think we're leading towards Lesnar against The Miz in Elimination Chamber, which isn't a problem because a lot of people already mentioned this. And it makes total sense to me. He decimates The Miz, completely leaves him laying. Triple H comes out, and bam, we got our match for WrestleMania. But then again, the attack on Vince McMahon was enough to tick off Triple H. So we still have that looming on the horizon. Triple H doesn't like The Miz, so it really wouldn't work. So I think we've already laid the groundwork for this match at Mania anyway, regardless if we want to see it or not. Like I said, if we want to see Rock and Cena or 2 or not, it's going to happen. Like we're going to see Brock against Triple H. Our next match was Randy Orton against Wade Barrett, and good back and forth matches. God, Bo Dallas is terrible. He just needs to learn how to cut better promos, more cohesive promos. Maven did this Steez a whole lot better back when he won Tough Enough, and he did that little program with The Undertaker. Bo Dallas isn't ready. Bray Wyatt's ready right now, and I really wish they would have put him in this role. I wish they would have put Leo Kruger. Obviously, the big answer is Cassius Ohno, because I want to see Chris Hero on WWE television. But Orton and Barrett go back and forth, and this time we end up going with Orton gets the pin right out of the way, and Orton and Barrett's feud, never-ending feud, continues, and Barrett, of course, on a collision course with Bo Dallas over the Intercontinental Championship. Now, Randy Orton gets a win over the Intercontinental Champion, just like Ryback got a win over the United States Champion, but it's basically just to prolong storylines. It's not really to get title shots, so that's pretty much how it worked. Next was the match of the night, and my God, it was brilliant. CM Punk and Chris Jericho back and forth, trading moves, back and forth, and everything was broken out. Went for the walls of Jericho, got reversed, go to sleep, got reversed, and the match was phenomenal. And Jericho finally succumbs to the go to sleep in a tremendous television main event to send the fans home happy, and Punk wins. Great match for CM Punk and Chris Jericho. I want this feud to continue, but seems to me like we're heading towards Jericho and Ryback down the road, but you gotta turn Jericho heel first, and I don't see that happening for a little bit, at least until his program with Dolph Ziggler's over. And Ziggler wasn't even on the program, but he did the dark match after the show was over. John Cena called out the Shield. That was what we're supposed to see, but then Brad Maddox comes out and he calls out the Shield, and Brad Maddox is babyface. Interesting. I don't have a problem with that. Maddox is awesome, and I'll tell you right now, WWE really picked up the right talent right here. Brad Maddox is unmistakably good on the mic. He doesn't have the greatest in-ring worker, but he doesn't have to be. He's a great, stirrer. He basically stirs the pot and pretty much agitates people, and it works really well. And I'll tell you right now, Brad Maddox is somebody to watch in WWE for years to come. The Shield come out, and they pretty much get ready to punk out Maddox. Super Cena comes out, and the next thing you know, you have Ryback come out, then you have Sheamus come out, and that's pretty much the Shield retreats to the back, and that was the end of the show. Now, honestly, like I said, I don't like Ryback at all. I like John Cena, but too much of him is not a good thing. And I don't know why Sheamus was thrown in there, other than the fact they need another babyface, and they didn't really have anybody else they could go with. They could go with Randy Orton, but they're trying to lean him towards becoming a heel somewhere down the road, which is what Orton wants. And right now he's basically a tweener. Whether he wants to be a heel or not, he's still a tweener, but still. Orton's like that Stone Cold babyface, because he really doesn't have to turn heel to be a heel. He could still be a heel as a babyface. That makes any sense whatsoever. But for Orton, I guess it does. Jericho and Punk, match of the night without any question. Some decent matches. Dolphin on the show kind of sucked. No Divas matches. That's not a problem because we don't really have a division right now. There's a lot of interesting things to say about storyline progression about this show. The continued elevation of Antonio Cesaro and Wade Barrett, albeit getting defeated by Randy Orton and Ryback, still worked really well. The Shield are menacing, but they're not doing anything with them. They should not have powdered. There's no reason to. It's like aces and eights in TNA. They should not get over every single week. The babyface is supposed to go under and go under, so you pay money to see the face get revenge. That's how it works. It's Wrestling 101, people. That's exactly how it works, and that's not what they're doing in either company right now. Do I have to watch Dragon Gate, or do I have to watch ROH right now just to see something different? I mean, come on, people. I can go watch WCW on YouTube and find better booking than this. This is ridiculous. But this is what internet reviewers talk about all the time. And the fact that it's just stale. The product is stale right now. You have to build new people. You have to build new talent. You have to build new stars. And WWE is trying that with Ryback. But, for me personally, they're failing miserably because call me a jaded wrestling fan all you want, and maybe in some ways I am. But when it comes down to it, Ryback does not resonate with me whatsoever. I know he works for the kids. I get that 100%. That's what they're trying to do with Mysterio. And TNA, that works with Jeff Hardy. But it doesn't work for me. And I'll tell you right now, personally, I think Antonio Cesaro, Wade Barrett, Daniel Bryan, obviously, And I don't know if it would be babyface or heel. I guess it just depends on how they work it, because when they split Hell No, it's going to be interesting to see what direction they go, because we've done the heel Bryan before, we've done the heel Kane before, so it'll be interesting to see what they do. But honestly, just Dolph Ziggler, I mean, these are all people that are you can run the company around, and somewhere down the road, it's going to have to happen. When Super Cena's gone, I don't like calling him Super Cena, but when he gets, like, over as much as he does, when he gets as much shine as he does, honestly, you can't call him anything but. And I like John Cena, so there, and it's weird saying that. Randy Orton, I mean, when they're gone, when Sheamus is gone, when nobody wants to work anymore, you have to build this new talent. And that's exactly what you're doing with Wade Barrett and Antonio Cesaro. And they may have lost tonight, but they still showed what they can do in the ring. They showed they were competent, and they deserve to be in the main event. I'll say the same thing about Cody Rhodes, too. Cody Rhodes and Damian Sandow are amazing, and they were a great tag team, but they're greater singles wrestlers. And I think Cody and Goldust are finally going to face each other at Mania. I think that's what they're building towards. Damian Sandow, they got a rocket strapped to him right now. And Alberto Del Rio has got a lot of tremendous heel challengers that can go after the World Heavyweight title. And don't forget, Dolph Ziggler still has the Money in the Bank briefcase that he can cash anytime he wants. And with the fact there's not going to be a Money in the Bank at WrestleMania this year, it makes it very much different to see who exactly could win a Money in the Bank pay-per-view, even though I'm sure it'll probably end up being Ryback, down the road. And you got Jack Swagger, he's got a new style, he's got a new presence, he looks like he cares again, and look like they're intent on pushing him, and that's not a problem whatsoever. This episode of Raw, kind of in the middle, honestly. We're on the road to WrestleMania, and it really, really doesn't feel like it. There's a couple things that were pushed a little bit. I think the Shield really didn't need to get, but they powdered, so it works just fine. I mean, the Shield got away, but they shouldn't have ran, but I understand because they're chicken heels, and I get that. But the Shield's supposed to have a bigger presence than that, a more ominous, more menacing presence. But tonight, it was there on the promo, it was there with stuff with Brad Maddox, but when Cena, Sheamus, and Ryback hit the ring, it didn't work. But what do I say? I'm just a former wrestling manager that doesn't know what he's talking about, even though I've booked and I've wrote shows and I've taken bumps in actual wrestling rings. I got Russian leg sweep off a ladder by Shane Storm. So, needless to say, I kind of know what I'm talking about. And when it comes down to it, you may like my opinion, you may not, but WWE, obviously, they're on a lull right now, and the ratings don't show it right now because they're actually doing really well. And with The Rock being off the television, obviously you take shine off the WWE Championship, which really didn't have to be about tonight because they put it on Punk. They put the focus on CM Punk and the match he had with either Mysterio, Orton, or Jericho. It ended up being Jericho. And it worked really fine for me because I'm a Punk fan, and I think to try to build him back up would work really well. And that's what you're doing. I mean, you take the belt off him, you had it for over 400 days, and now you got to go what direction to go with. Right now, you don't know if Undertaker's going to be at Mania, so you don't know if you're going to have to do the three-way with Cena and Rock, if you want to do it that way, because that way you get out of the once-in-a-lifetime, because once-in-a-lifetime was a singles match. A three-way, that makes it totally different, so it's fine, it would work. So WWE, honestly, build new stars, build new talent, find a way to get me to care about Ryback. I don't know if you can. And just do what you can with what you got, honestly. Bo Dallas is not the answer. Brad Maddox is the answer. But seriously, that's how I see things. And I'm going to get off here. And I'm going to have my dinner. I'm going to listen to Wrestling News Live. And I will join you wrestling fans for TNA Impact's recap on Friday night. And until tomorrow, that's all I got to say about that.